Welcome everyone to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, and today I'm going to be talking about the Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, Episode 1. It's called Chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange Land. So, spoilers for the first episode. Although there's not really that much to spoil, really, in the grand scheme of things. If you know the channel, if you know me, and you know my taste, you're probably wondering, why are you reviewing Episode 1 of a new Star Wars show? Because I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I don't really care about getting more Star Wars. The first trilogy's fine. Everything after that, I don't really need. Basically, the patron screwed me over here, and via the patron pilot vote, it meant I had to talk about this. I had to look at the first episode, and I guess I have to get some bias or at least some context out of the way first before I really kind of give any opinion on this. Is that I don't care about Boba Fett. I never did. In fact, after seeing the movies at, relatively young, although not as young as some other people see them, I remember seeing online, sort of the fandom of Boba Fett, something in, the early 2010s or maybe late 2000s, whatever it was. And I'll be honest, I didn't know who it was. I didn't remember Boba Fett from the original trilogy. He was that inconsequential that I didn't remember the outfit, I didn't remember who he was, and I didn't understand why there was this love for this character. And as time has went on, and that fandom on the internet has just gotten louder and louder in general. I've never understood. And when I did go back and watch the movies again at some point, I didn't get it. He was still just this minor character who ultimately died like a little bitch. That's all he ever was to me. So I don't get the mystique or the appeal of Boba Fett. I never have. I never was interested in a Boba Fett show or whatever. In essence, this existing does feel like fan service and, I don't know, pandering, I guess, which isn't really surprising. Star Wars or Lucasfilm or whatever aren't notable with this at this point. Every franchise is doing this. They're all doing fan servicey nostalgia things. They're all trying to just make people happy with milking the franchise cash cows and whatever they can do to keep making more money. So I'm not going to villainize them for that necessarily, because everyone's doing it now, and it's why modern movies, big budget movies, are kind of getting really soulless and hard to be excited for most of the time. But Star Wars and Marvel are definitely the ones that are hitting some of the hardest notes there. And yeah, but with all that aside, I felt important to mention all that because I don't care about the character at all. It does mean that early on in the episode, when it's showing you how he survived the death in Return of the Jedi, he's waking up inside the belly of this thing, and he's going to burn his way out, and we get the shot of the hand coming out of the sand and all that jazz. Most of that is just kind of, I felt kind of nothing from it. Maybe a little eye rolly, and it's not necessarily that it deserves to have its to have that attitude necessarily. It's kind of the best thing I can compare this to is actually in wrestling, when they try and make someone popular, and they try it so hard, they really try their hard to get what they call someone over, where the crowd likes the person. But if it's not clicking and it's not working, but they keep trying, all the attempts that they keep doing get more and more irritating. And I kind of feel that way with Boba Fett in a sense, and I felt this in The Mandalorian, because he's effectively just Boba Fett too. Is showing him do cool stuff, for the most part, it just makes me go, oh, you're trying to make me think he's cool. And I'm not going to. I'm not going to. As far as a more objective kind of look at this first episode, it's about 30 minutes once you take off the extended credits that it has. It sets up that Boba Fett is taking over for Jabba the Hutt as the crime boss on Tatooine, and it's kind of him just starting out in his early days of this job. Ming-Na Wen, who I love a lot, I loved her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so it's nice to see her. She's there as sort of his second, his confidant, and we see him take tributes from the locals who come to give him money and payoffs and whatever. The representative of the mayor actually doesn't bring anything and expects him to pay something back for the mayor. And the running thread, at least in the present day, because there's a lot of flashbacks in this, but the running thread in the present day stuff is that Ming-Na Wen's telling him he has to be a bit harsher, he has to like show that he's strong, and Boba Fett's saying, "No, I'm not. I'm not going to rule with fear. I'm going to make people respect me." And he's shown as being merciful and not wanting to just kill everyone right away, which is okay. It's an interesting place to start. Like, I've not seen like Boba Fett in like animated shows or anything else he's popped up in the last like 30 years. I don't care. But so maybe these things have like established that he is this way. I didn't really get this honorable vibe from him in the original trilogy. Like he's he was kind of nothing. He was a blank slate in the original trilogy. He was meant to be like slightly good at his job and intimidating, from what I remember. That's basically it. So it's interesting that he starts off this way. You could have seen him start off a bit more cold and sort of get more of a heart as it goes on. But then, I guess the Mandalorian was kind of that, because it was like he was stoic and then he started to care about Baby Yoda and so on and so on. So I guess that you're kind of flipping it here. Maybe this is going to be more of a dark story where he gets worse. He has to he realizes he does have to be more vicious and he has to be more controlling and all the rest of it. But that's basically the key point that's hit over and over is between the tribute scene, between the scene where he goes out to the bar in Tatooine and kind of like just announces to the person around the place that he's the new boss in town. Not threatening, he's just like, yeah, business will continue, everything will be good, I'm in charge now, and she pays him off, and then at least a big action scene when a bunch of masked people attack them on their way out. Ming-Na Wen does grab one of them alive at the end. There's some, I will say this, if I'm going to give like a big positive to the episode, I would say that the production values do feel very high. There's a lot of chasing on rooftops in Tatooine, which does feel, it feels expensive. There's some nice big shots early on. Like at one point he has a flashback to like a station that's in the water and the waves are crashing, and it looks really expensive. Honestly, the only time the effects really kind of didn't work for me is there's a couple of scenes when they're in the desert at night, and it's just the nighttime desert behind them, and those look really green screen to me. But that's just like, clearly that's just, there's something about that doesn't work for my eye. Whereas for the most part though, the effects in this were very good, and there is some practical stuff. There's some like, I don't know, green pig looking dudes that look alright. There's a big monster in the flashbacks that they end up fighting towards the end of the episode. I'll call him Goro because he's like Goro from Mortal Kombat, but just a bit bigger. He looked good for the most part. He was mostly CG because he was so big, but like that was mostly fine. But probably the most enjoyable part of the episode was just the fight with the monster. Even if it did end with the shot of, look at how cool Boba Fett is, he took down the monster by strangling it. Isn't he such a badass? But like, the effects are good. The production values seem high. That's basically it. I mean, Ming-Na Wen I really like, and she's obviously really suited for the badass role that she has in this. I think, but this is no fault of her own, but because I'm just so used to her being Agent May, all I see is Agent May in like a Star Wars outfit. Like, and that's not necessarily bad or good or anything. It's just, I guess, distracting more than anything. But I wasn't expecting to see so much of Boba Fett's face. I thought they'd keep that a secret, but he gets his helmet off like really quickly. He doesn't choose to take it off, admittedly. He gets to take it off. Well, he chooses later on. Like, he walks into the bar later on and just whips it off. He's like, here's my face, everyone. Ain't I beautiful? Come and touch me. I'm Boba Fett. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, this isn't too bad of a half hour of stuff. I mean, I think my personal dislike and disinterest in the character in the world of Star Wars is the biggest thing going against it. Ultimately, though, I also don't think it really accomplishes that much either. It's kind of like, it looks good visually, for the most part. It has good effects, it has good sets. But I don't know if, like, and this is the problem I had with The Mandalorian, it's the problem I've had with some of the Marvel shows, is that some of the episodes are really short, and well, that's fine for certain types of storytelling, like this story is intentionally very slow moving. A lot of the flashbacks, like after he's like kidnapped by sand people, when he's like week after the end of Return of the Jedi, like there's a lot of like quiet, just like going through the desert, him trying to escape, and not a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of slower moving things. And honestly, as much as I enjoyed the fight with the monster that's in the flashback in the last like 5 minutes or so of the episode, I probably thought that scene was the best, but at the same time, I probably could have done with like much less flashbacks, if any. I think just like establishing him with maybe some glimpses of how he survived, but other than that, like just get the ball rolling and set up the themes and the characters that are relevant. But it's clearly going to be telling this story of how because at first he tries to escape, obviously, but the sand people come to respect him because he takes down this monster, and it's symbolized at the end with him finally offering Boba a drink. And obviously we're going to get him like bonding and maybe befriending the sand people, earning their respect, whatever it may be. Maybe building up eventually in the flashback, because I assume these flashbacks are going to continue through the 7 episodes, and maybe like by the end it'll tell the story of how he became the new Kingpin. Whereas, you know, the present day story is him trying to establish himself as the Kingpin and sort of like keep that control and because he's clearly just gotten this position because it's all very new to everyone. He's introducing himself as the new guy, so yeah. But not like I wouldn't say there's not a lot to root for as of yet, as far as characters go, in terms of like wanting him to succeed or wanting him to like achieve that. There's no like there's nothing to really be that sympathetic about as of yet. It really is banking on you just like Boba Fett because you care about Boba Fett. And since I don't, there's not really anything here that I'm rooting for success in or rooting for characters to succeed in. And to be fair, this is a problem that I have with any story that like revolves around like gangsters or anything like that. There's a lot of crime movies that do struggle with me early on, especially because I don't necessarily care that much about this world unless it's just done so well that I get drawn into it. And there's obviously examples of that, but that's kind of one of the hindrances this has just for me as well on its own. It's not a train wreck, it's not a travesty, it's not laughably bad, and it's not insulting or anything. Like, you know, like people expect me to come out of Star Wars and start shitting all over it and giving it all these things. This is perfectly inoffensive. I just don't care about it at all, or want to watch anymore. So, I mean, that's really all I've got. I don't think I have much more to really add on anything. Like I say, all the present day stuff kind of keeps repeating the same point. It's that he's not wanting to kill the mayor's guy. He's not wanting to kill the 2 alien dudes. He's, you know, not wanting to rule out a fear. Like, he kind of just keeps reiterating that point. Maybe it's a little one note. Maybe that's like a genuine critique I could have of it. But ultimately, I would just say that it's not enough of a serving to really feel like I got a lot out of it. And I think I would probably feel that if I was a big Star Wars fan as well. I don't think that's just unique to this. And I felt the same way. Like, you know, I watched all of season 1 of Mandalorian, and I felt that about a lot of those episodes. Is that I just didn't feel like there was enough in them to really feel like I got a full like. TV has trained me what a full course of a TV episode is, and it's not necessarily about runtime. I'm not saying, obviously, the fact that these tend to only be about 30 minutes is kind of translating to that, but there's episodes of TV that are 40 minutes, and there's episodes of TV that are like over an hour, and they're equally satisfying or equally disappointing depending on what you're talking about, right? It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But there's a certain amount of progression, there's a certain amount of like dramatic beats and points that need to be made to make it feel like you've went through a full chapter of something. And yeah, so this does end with him in the flashbacks kind of earning the friendship to an extent of the Sand People, and I guess that's it, right? But it's not much. Yeah, I'm good, I'm done, I'm not watching anymore. It's inoffensive. It exists. It's a show with the Star Wars brand stamped on it. People will watch it. It will likely do very well. Uber fans will complain about details, and I'll continue to not give a shit. So that is Book of Boba Fett, episode 1. Usually at this point I say let me know what you thought in the comments, but I don't really care in this case. If you wish to let the world know what you thought in the comments, by all means, go for it. I'm not that fussed. But like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. If you like the idea of the pilot like priority vote that's there every month, it's at a $10 tier on Patreon. But if you like the idea of being party to making me watch stuff that I don't want to like this, then you can achieve that over on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. But you can support us over there for as little as $1 per month and help keep all the content coming. So thank you once again for watching or listening. I always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?